Hello, good morning and welcome to the Autism 360 podcast, the 360 Method, a weekly podcast where we talk about everything Autism 360. Every week we catch you up on what's going on in the program, chatting with team members and special guests, and talk all things mindset as well as exploring relevant ideas to autism parenting. I'm your host, Ella Bailey. I'm an Autism 360 veteran coach and explorer of all things parenting support. I have a background in behavioral psychology, and today, drum roll please, I am joined by my most delightful long-term client, Isobel. How are you, Isobel?
Hi, Ella. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, that is my pleasure. Isobel has been with the program for 2 years so far and has had awesome success. I can't wait to get into chatting about you and our kiddos. So welcome to you, our lovely listeners. We're so glad to have you. I can't wait to share Isobel's story with you. And we care about you. We care about your thoughts and your experiences, whether you're a program member or not. We would love to hear from you. So please drop us a line at hello@autism360.com. We love your listener feedback. We love our parent questions, and we can't wait to hear what you think. So before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, on whose land I live and work, and from where this podcast is being broadcast today. And also just provide a bit of a disclaimer that this podcast doesn't substitute for medical advice. If you do have concerns about your child or about yourself, please do contact a medical professional if you need support. So, Izzy, I can't wait to...
Not easy. Actually, Ella, I haven't told you this yet. I have a friend who calls me Bella.
Yeah.
So you could call me Bella, and we could be the Bella and Ella show. The Bella and Ella show. We should start our own podcast.
We should start our own podcast. I think we just did.
We just did. It's lovely to see you, Ella.
It's lovely to see you. I can't wait to chat about your story here on the program and share your wisdom with the rest of the parents listening. Why don't we get started by chatting a little bit about your family, your background, and what life was like before you started the program? We'd love to hear.
Thank you. I'm married and have 3 beautiful children. My eldest, who we'll call eldest, is 21 and he's off doing independent things. Then I have Ringo. We're not using real names for my children, are we, Ella? So we're using their special nicknames. So we have Ringo, who is nearly 19. And he was diagnosed at the age of 9 with Asperger's, as it was back then. So that's been an interesting journey to understanding the changes in all those diagnostic terms and so on. And we have Nala, who is she's 15. Yes, and she was only diagnosed with autism at the age of 12. So just in 2019. So both of them were, it's funny, in if you just do a little bit of reading, they've both come out with really classic kind of, Ringo was your classic little 8 or 9-year-old boy who'd been a happy, yes, quirky, unusual in some ways, but happy little boy right up until the age where he then entered year 3 and suddenly quirky and funny and a little bit unusual was weird. And he suddenly realized that he did not belong in the world. And he actually said that he used to make up his own worlds, and they were quite complicated. They had currencies and government and all the rest. And he used to talk to us for hours about these worlds that he'd created. But one day we knew that he really wasn't coping very well at school, which was so unusual because he'd actually loved infants. And one day he just fell on the ground in his room and said, I don't belong in this world. I'm
Oh,
the only real
no.
person and I don't belong in this world. And that was when we went, okay, right, it's time for us to follow this up.
Yeah.
And then we read Tony Attwood's, we got him, we followed it up with a pediatrician and psychologist, and we read Tony Attwood's Guide to Asperger's, and I just cannot tell you, it was tick, 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 and it made so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
And actually just understanding him was pretty much all the therapy any of us needed at that point.
Yeah.
It just blew our minds, blew his mind.
Yeah.
He was like, he goes, oh, there are other people like me who feel this way. And we're like, yes, there are.
Yeah.
And he said, are there girls? And we go, there are, yes. He goes, oh, good. Yeah. So
excellent. Good news.
That's right. Good news. That's right. Then Nala, she was just a happy little girl, her own unique individual. She was, I guess, classically, as girls are, more able to follow social conventions than Ringo had been. She had her own little obsessions. She had a collection of imaginary friends.
Amazing.
But she also had lots of real friends. And yeah, it was just actually, around year 6, she started developing anxiety, which was sort of felt like it came out of nowhere, or it had shown its face every now and then in a bit of separation anxiety when if I went out at night or something, she'd kind of suddenly start screaming that I had to come back, which was very strange. But anyway, she developed this terrible anxiety. And then we moved at the end of year 6, and she had to start a new school in year 7, and of course puberty and all the rest, and around that age. And if you read about girls who were diagnosed at this stage, she had some very classic sort of symptoms. So the anxiety, some soothing repetitive behaviours, anxiety that led to refusal of participation in all sorts of things, and we kind of went, wow, she is very, very different to Ringo, but we can kind of see where this is going. And we found a wonderful psychologist who diagnosed her. And I've forgotten the question. Did I talk too much?
You know what? It's all building up to the picture of where we were when we started the program.
That's right.
Interesting. It's almost the once you see it, you don't know how you didn't know.
Yeah.
You don't know how you couldn't see before.
Yes. And actually I felt really bad because she had some pretty significant sensory issues along the way. Like as a little girl, she wouldn't put her feet on sand or various other things. In fact, she bottom shuffled. But with her feet kind of in the air, she had this incredible core.
Wow, I mean, they're yogis.
I can't believe I didn't take a video of it. Honestly, it's just ridiculous. Back in the day, I'm so non-techie. But yeah, and also she had some definite rules in her head, and some obsessions, and we were so used to kind of living, I guess, already starting to live quite comfortably with neurodiversity in the family, and because everything was going really well with Ringo and he was back, he had some friends, he was doing better at school, I think we were just like, yeah, she's just who she is. And then looking back, I went, oh my goodness, it was so obvious.
Wow.
But then again, she was fine.
Yes.
And I've said to a few people, down the track, if it ain't broke, it ain't broke. I mean, you seek a diagnosis when you realize that your child needs help.
Yes.
The diagnosis is not just because you want to have a label or an answer.
No.
It's so that you can actually go, okay, where do we go from here in understanding this wonderful, unique person, in being able to love her in a way that builds her up and helps her to, live the best life that she can live.
Absolutely.
And so I guess, I guess we did it at the time when it needed to happen.
Yeah. And I suppose, things were kind of trucking along as they were. We were embracing the neurodiversity.
Not that I knew that word then. Oh, my goodness.
No.
I mean, learnt so much. Yeah.
And then things started to change a little bit from what you've described. We were having some struggle, far more anxiety struggles from Nala. We were having some pretty significant kind of withdrawals kind of into himself, for Ringo. And we were having some kind of family tensions in general, weren't we? Just as you got started with the program. Do you want to talk about the first time you ever heard about the program?
Yeah, I have no idea who sent me the link.
Yeah.
I cannot remember. So if you're out there and you're listening and it was you, thank you.
Yeah.
But I just knew that we had no idea what we were facing and how to deal with what was happening with Nala. So there was there was school refusal, extreme anxiety, very different to what we'd experienced with Ringo. And I clicked on this link and I watched this video. Ash, he's the coordinator, isn't he? The director, the owner of the owner.
Yeah.
And in his own interesting and dramatic kind of way, he explained the program. And straight away, I just went, oh, my goodness, there's going to be someone out there who can help me at home work out how to manage day to day, how to help, because I have no idea what to do. So we're in this situation where Nala was refusing to go to school.
Yeah.
And I was kind of saying, to my husband, who we call the professor, she's too anxious. She can't go. And he was sort of saying, we've just got to make her. I mean, you can't just refuse to go to school. Anyway, I wanted to sign up to the program, but we didn't have our NDIS organised by then, and there were limited spaces, and so we couldn't get in. So that was a big disappointment to me. But I thought, okay, let's push ahead. Let's find someone else to help us. So the professor and I went off to see another psychologist together, and she said, just go home and get her dressed and take her to school. And we sorry about the coughing. It was, I actually almost burst into tears in the consulting room, because I thought, she doesn't understand. And of course, my husband was sort of saying, well, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what we need to do. We need to just put our foot down. But the reality is you can't actually physically make a 12 or 13-year-old girl get dressed and get in the car and go to school. She's not a little girl anymore. And anyway, we did have amazing support at school. We had a wonderful school counsellor. She was so kind.
Amazing.
And she totally made me feel validated. Every time I spoke to her, she was like, I completely understand what we've got to, but she didn't really have any solution either. I mean, we put Nala on a reduced class load, and that helped a bit. So she would go some days and just go to a few classes. But anyway, to cut a long story short, we got to sort of November, and I thought, okay, we're going to have to try and find someone else, because this is a sort of November in 2020, wasn't it, that we started Ella?
I know.
So it was a whole like 9 months after I first heard about the course, and I got this email in my inbox that said second round applications. I went,
it's my time.
I know. I sent off my application and I held my breath, and I got this email saying, you're successful and your therapist will be, your coach will be Ella Bailey. And I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, let's get started.
Amazing.
And it was just so validating when you said, of course she can't just suddenly start going to school 5 days a week and do all her classes, because we have to start with small goals, and we have to build up her confidence and her success, her strength, and we have to work on her anxiety and just that the difference of having, because the program is all about empowering the parent at home. I mean, there's only so much. I mean, I couldn't even get her to see a psychologist. We were in the pandemic.
Yes.
We had just found a psychologist, and then it was supposed to be online sessions. Well, she wouldn't participate in online sessions.
No. I remember Nala wouldn't go to OT.
She wouldn't go to OT because we walked in and it looked like a children's playground, and she basically turned around and said, I'm not going here. And, so that but even if she had gone to OT and gone to her psychologist, you're still there at home trying to work out how to make progress. So the fact that we could, then talk through exactly what was happening at home and make a plan for, okay, so let's scaffold her, let's enable her to do this small goal, and let's see her build up her confidence in this. And it was amazing. So the other thing that was happening around that time was a lot of conflict between Nala and Ringo.
Yeah, that's right.
Ringo had also had his own big mental health breakdown around the year 11 exams.
That's right, yes.
And so I kept talking about him, and you're like, why don't you sign him up? I'm like, can I?
Yeah, I remember, and I sort of thought, oh my goodness, we have to get support for this as well, don't we? That's right.
Yeah. So we signed him up, and then that was great because I could legitimately talk about both of them, and they both had their own time, and we could
give them the kind of thought and priority that they both deserved.
Totally. So
well, I mean, from my memory, we were really working on how to build up confidence in you, to know that how you were helping them was the right way for them. And that takes time, that takes knowing the family, that takes knowing, Ringo and Nala, and it takes a little bit of trial and error. Sometimes we, might have tried something and totally awry, but can you think of any times where we really struck gold? You really felt like, okay, this has worked. This was what we needed to do. Any breakthrough strategies that come to mind?
Breakthrough strategies. So I guess with Nala, it really has been about very small goals around her self-care and independence.
Yes.
And like you said, me being confident. Yes. So us deciding together that I was going to draw a line somewhere and that she was going to do something.
Yes.
But in all kindness and in all with all the support that she needed. Yeah, not in a nasty way. But just that, I mean, I remember when I said to her, can you pop your tablets, pop your tablet out of its container, out of its packet and take it. And she fell down on the couch. Oh, I can't do that. It's too hard. Yeah. You don't understand. I need help. And I thought, oh, maybe I am asking too much.
Yes.
I just felt lost in all of that. So you and I would make a decision like, you know what, she's doing so well going for little walks around the block with mum. So let's see if she can just walk the 5 minutes to the tennis courts where she's meeting some friends. Let's see if she can walk there on her own. So the strategy was that we had already done it together. So it was she knew that she knew the way. It was short. She was meeting friends, but I was going to go the other way and also meet her there.
Yes.
So that whole kind of package of building her up to the point where we knew that she had been given all the support she needed. Now, she still said to me, I'm going to get mugged. And I just, the depth of her fear, I know we can chuckle about it, but the depth of her fear, everything, she's afraid of everything,
Yes.
So that she said, I'll get mugged. And I said, I just talked through how she wouldn't. And then we left the house at the same time, and I just went one way and she went the other way, and we met up, and I said to her, look at you, you made it here.
Yeah.
And you're okay. Mm-hmm. I said, let's walk home. She goes, you go the other way, Mum. I like walking on my own. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great. I'm really happy you like walking on your own. And she said, yeah, I don't have to walk at your pace, and your conversation is really boring. And I, because she has interesting things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like a snap, we all this resistance because of her fear, but we had built her up to this slowly and gently to this point where she could do this thing on her own, and suddenly she was okay. And now she walks to school one day alone, and she even now walks home one day alone.
Oh my goodness,
I know this is very new,
I'm so excited.
Ella. Yes, this is very new, because this was the other thing that she this is the other thing I've been working on. Actually, you started working with me around putting up some boundaries around my availability.
Yeah.
Because I gave up work. I think other parents will be in this situation. Part of it was due to kind of the pandemic and other things going on, but at the same time, like with home learning, homeschooling and all the rest, not homeschooling, but, online learning. It's just impossible to juggle everything.
Yeah, totally.
Obviously, there are parents who have to, and I was in a position where I could choose not to have to do that particular juggle, but then I feel like I just became this slave to the family,
totally.
Just to the sense that I was available. And you helped me, I remember, with Ringo going to school. I said to him, he was like, well, can you pick me up at this time? Can you pick me up this time? Because I'm going to have a short day here, we decide on a short day or something. And you helped me that I could say to him, I'll drive you to school in the morning because it's an early start, and I'll pick you up at this time. If you want to come home at a different time, you can catch the bus. And just that sense that I didn't have to be on call to him. And he can catch buses. That's one of the things he loves. He can do public transport really well, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And so then that progression with Nala, where I could say to her, she sort of said, but you are available. You are available. You can pick me up. And so, I remember you and we talked about me not necessarily being available, and not saying to her, I don't want to be available, because that felt too much. But actually making myself unavailable, knowing that since she could walk to school, she could walk home.
Totally.
And that she just needed that little push of having to. And she's totally fine now. The first that was 2 weeks ago, I think, Ella, I said, look, I have a meeting. I run a playgroup. I have a playgroup meeting. I'll be a little late for pickup. And she goes, I'll just walk home. And I said,
oh my goodness.
I said, that's fantastic. And you told me to leave her a little treat in the fridge, which I did.
Amazing.
Because we want to, just that lovely reward and encouragement. And then when I said to her, asked her how it was, she goes, yeah, fine. Oh, I ran a bit because I just wanted to get home.
Yeah.
And then I said, look, it's possible that meeting could become quite a regular thing, because that time suited other people. And I didn't make that up. Like, I actually planned the meeting for that time so that I would be unavailable. It wasn't a lie. And she said, that's fine. I'll walk home on Fridays. I just went, oh my goodness. I know. And I think for other people, you know, for people with neurotypical kids, maybe it's hard to understand this, but for people with kids, you know, with high anxiety levels and kids on the spectrum, like that's just major. It was major. It gave me the most incredible sense of freedom.
Yeah.
And also delight for her.
Yes.
That she'd got to the point where she could go, oh, yeah, I'm actually fine doing that.
Do that, yes. And I think they're one of the major comparisons that I feel that I hold on to when you know, things are tough or Nala's struggling or, you know, Ringo's, you know, having his own challenges, is right at the beginning of the program, you were, you described to me Nala's emotional breakdown when you had tried to leave the house on a Sunday night for a couple of hours, and it was just you time to go and do your own thing for a couple of hours out of the house, and she was distraught. She could not cope. She couldn't conceive of herself being able to manage in your absence. Do you remember the incident?
I do, because I was going to church. That's the other thing about, you know, this whole journey with the neurodiversity in the family, is that you I mean, sorry, I just deviated a little bit from your question, but I'll go back to it. It's just that what you've thinking that the journey that I've been on has been so much about learning to adapt, to let go of ideas I may have had of what our family looked like. So at that time, you know, my husband was going to church in the morning. Like, we used to go to church as a family. It was something that we did, you know, but then, you know, and I had this idea that that's what our family would do. But then, of course, I didn't ever expect that church would be an environment that was too difficult for my kids to manage. And I'm really grateful to people who are making an effort in this regard, in terms of, you know, inclusivity. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the professor was going to church in the morning, and I was going to church at night. And Nala would beg me every night not to go.
Yes, I remember.
And I mean, sometimes I didn't even make it to church. Sometimes I would email you saying, I'm sitting in the car having a mocha from McDonald's in tears, but I still left the house.
Yes, I know.
And it was something. And so your original question wasn't it about my own ability to keep to my boundary?
Yeah.
Which was that she was okay. She was home with a father who loved her and who she loved. She just didn't want me. She wanted me home because that was part of her security package.
Yes.
But I needed to actually get out of the house for a few hours on my own.
Absolutely.
Or to go to church and see my friends. And,
absolutely. And fill your cup.
Exactly, and fill my cup.
But it, I think this gorgeous comparison between that experience of real genuine pain on her part to not have you there at that time, to I want to say a month or two ago, where you and the professor got to go on a mini break.
Yes.
And Nala stayed home by herself.
Yes.
So she cooked for herself. She hung out, and she loved it. She felt so independent. She saw her friends. She got out of the house. She went for a walk. She got some chips with her friends, and the joy of the
oh my gosh,
increase in capacity there. Oh my gosh, it just, you know, that's why I do my job, to improve quality of life for families. So you and the professor got to go away, live your best life.
We did.
You know, and
I mean, to be clear, we made sure that Ringo was away as well, because
absolutely,
you know, as much as I mean, you know, they are different people, which is really important to remember. not only they're different people, they are different people with autism.
Totally.
And they have, so yes, there's a bit of tension there still,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. We had grandparents living in a granny flat. So we had offered Nala the option of going and staying with a friend, but she really wanted to stay at home in her own bed with the cats. And yes, oh my goodness, she used to cry when I left the house to go to church.
To go to church, and then she was pushing you guys out the door.
Yeah, she was.
To go and enjoy your weekend, and loved it. Like the stark contrast in her experience of being alone. Or she wasn't.
Yes, that's right.
Being without you is oh my gosh, just night and day, isn't it? And I think that I mean, and we'll talk about now where Ringo and Nala are at in their journey and kind of wrap up after that. But I think that's such a good example, you know, of the increase in capacity and the improvement in quality of life. You guys have been able to carve out for yourselves during your time in the program.
And the other thing is that she has been blessed with amazing friends, and so she actually, you know, in her little journey, and something that's been so valuable, you know, so special for us as her parents, is that she has a friend who invited her to a small youth group. She now has her own place that she goes.
Amazing.
She has soccer that she plays, you know, and just, I mean, there was a time where we felt like it was hard to get her out of her bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, it is amazing. It is amazing. So she is doing really well. She's on an almost full load at school.
Yeah.
We're talking about choosing HSC subjects. I don't know how we're going to get her through year 11. I suspect she will end up doing pathways, year 12 over 2 years, which is perfectly fine with us. She's not keen on the idea, but it's just going to be reality if she can't manage the workload. But she's determined to keep trying. Now Ringo, he started pathways, so he really struggled with year 11. He then did half of his HSC at school.
Amazing.
Graduated with his class. And then started TAFE to finish off his HSC.
Yes.
And has pulled out.
Okay.
As you know, and oh my goodness, we're now in this kind of teen to adult transition.
Yeah, absolutely.
With a boy who is also became vegetarian, then now a vegan.
Yes.
But not helping with his own food, not even caring about his own food, basically a little depressed and a little unmotivated. And yes, we have our work cut out for us, Ella, don't we?
We absolutely do. And I think kind of the biggest change that's happened there is that you no longer feel like you have nothing to bring to the situation. You have a new sense of, okay, this is a challenge. This is something he needs support with, but I can do that. We can do that as a family. We can manage this. We might not know what it looks like, but we know that we have something to bring, which it's totally new.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So what do you want other parents to know about your experience, about the program, about anything?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, like I said, the value in the program has been that when you're a parent, I mean, you're constantly making decisions, you know, about and with and for your children.
Yeah.
And when your children and with children who are diagnosed on the autism spectrum, there are particular, I mean, they're individuals, and I guess I'm not really explaining myself well, sorry, Ella, but basically you're there 24/7.
Yes.
And you want to see, you know that your amazing kids have a future, but you don't know how to help get them there.
Yeah.
Because being in this world is tricky.
Yeah.
For anyone being in this world, if you're neurodiverse, and have high levels of anxiety or particular specialized interests, it can be really hard work. You know, if you have significant sensory difficulties, which my kids do, just being out in the world is hard.
Yeah.
And I just felt at a loss. We felt at a loss.
Yes.
And so the fact that I could talk to you every week and we could say, okay, what's our small goal for this week? And then see the progress and just see the world opening up.
Yes.
For my kids.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, you know, you have been someone that I've been able to burst into tears with, and I've been able to laugh with, and sometimes you do have to laugh because it's the only way to survive.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been completely honest. I've also, through all of this, I've learnt, I mean, you're just the wealth of knowledge and the resources that come from being part of this program.
Yeah.
I mean, that was how I worked out, gosh, hang on, I think I'm a bit like my kids in some ways. Hang on, I think I also have ADHD. And you saying to me, you know what, let's follow this up.
Look into it.
You know, then together journeying through my own diagnosis and what that meant for my understanding of my kids and their needs as kids with not just autism, but ADHD as well. And yeah, it's just been invaluable, and I'll probably still be talking to you forever. So
my blessing.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think the Bella and Ella show should.
The Bella and Ella show. Watch this space. 20 years time, we'll be doing the Bella and Ella show. That's right.
And I think something that's probably really valuable for parents to know is that there's support out there for teens. You know, our team has experience with autistic teens, with neurodiverse teens, with parenting teens. And Ringo and Nala have been an amazing learning experience for me in bettering my knowledge and understanding and approach and being more responsive and etc. And that's exactly what we want the program to be. It's so incredibly tailored. Nobody else has Ringo's program. Nobody else has Nala's program. Nobody other than Bella gets Bella's program, you know?
And I love how, you know, there were times when you've said to me, you know what, I'm going to have to think about that. We're going to have to come back to this next week because this is really tricky. And I've just valued that, you know, because, you know, also because then I haven't had to think about it for the week. I mean, of course I have, but, you know, just that sense that you're willing to say, you know what, this is new for me as well, as a coach, as an autism expert. Let's work out how we can approach this and see the, you know, the progress and the benefit and just you know, I know that there's a lot of conflict out there around the whole behavioral approach and so on, but I've just experienced only respect for my kids. There's no sense in which they are valued any less. They are wonderful, important, and loved and unique individuals, just like any child.
Exactly.
And the things that we've put in place together to help them to take steps forward in their life have been done in a loving and respectful way. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, my goodness, you're making me emotional. Okay.
Thank you, Ella.
Thank you. I think we have some awesome progress to continue making. You know, parents, if you have questions for Belle, if you want to reach out, or you you know, you have whatever it might be, you know, send an email to hello@autism360.com, and we would love to foster that connection. Community is so, so important to us. So thank you, Isobel.
Yeah, thank you. I'm more than happy for people to ask me questions through you. And I thank you everyone for letting me share my story. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, it has been lovely, lovely, lovely to chat with you. And I wanted to mention that for every parent that we get on the podcast, Autism 360 actually makes a charity donation.
Oh,
so we donate 1 day's worth of computer literacy education for an Indigenous child in a remote community. Yeah, for every parent that comes on to chat with me. So you get to make that charity donation today. Isn't that awesome?
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you.
Oh, that is my pleasure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yes, we will see everybody, chat with everybody again next week. And hopefully...
And I will see you at our next session.
I will see you to chat at our next session.
Yeah.
Have a great week, and I will talk to you then.